Hey guys, Katie Christ here. So there's a quote by Gary Keller that I've been thinking a lot lately to finish the rest of December. So 2020, how do you finish the year strong? And so the quote goes, what's the one thing that you can do, such by doing that, everything else will be easier or unnecessary? So I've been thinking about that quote a lot recently, and I was just, okay, 2020 has been freaking hard. And so to end 2020, let's just focus on one thing, number one thing. So from a health coach's perspective, I believe the number one thing for you to focus on for the remainder of 2020 is energy. So why energy? It's such like okay, cool, Katie, energy. But because energy levels dictate everything. The studies have shown the lower your energy, the lower your overall happiness, the lower your enthusiasm for taking on challenges, the lower your perception of your own success compared to your other peers, the lower your confidence in the face of adversity, and the lower of degree of influence you'll have with others, and the lower the likelihood you'll eat well or exercise. So why should we focus on energy? Because do you see how much it influences your other areas of your life? Like you're less happy, you're less confident in yourself, you judge yourself compared to your peers, you don't feel like you're successful, you lack confidence, you lack the perception that you're doing okay. That's a lot. But the inverse is also true too. So when you have higher energy, all those other areas improve too. So with my own personal experience as a health coach, I actually saw that energy was the main culprit with my health coaching clients of taking away kind of them not showing up successfully with their goals. They would say, I just don't have the energy to go work out, or I'm so burnt out with my job, I don't want to make the meals or do the good things that I know that are good for me. I'd rather just sit on the couch after a long, stressful day and eat pizza and drink some wine. I think when it comes specifically with losing weight, we forget that energy should be a priority for the entirety of the day. So not just in the morning where you're like, I want to try to work out in the morning, so I should have energy then. It has to be the focus for the entirety of the day. Because again, do you see how much energy influences how we show up? Because a lack of energy through the entirety of the day ruins people. Completely. I have seen and experienced really positive, and I'm sure you have too, positive people become stress-induced monsters. And I've also seen lack of energy completely derail someone's progress for weeks on end. They'll just kind of have one of those weeks and they're like, screw it, I'm done, Katie. I just can't do it anymore. Because we're not focusing on tactics that will kind of allow us to have high energy the entirety of the day. Because we let stress take that away. And we let stress, because stress is the number one killer of energy. Having stress come into our lives and not being able to react to stress in a very nourishing and high energy fashion. And really, because if we let stress ruin our day, we let stress ruin our week. And if we let stress ruin our week, we let stress ruin our month. And if we let stress ruin our month, we let stress ruin our year. Insert 2020, honestly. Because again, like I said, stress is the ultimate killer of energy. Because stress has this innate ability to really derail every aspect of our body. So in our body, we feel we feel fatigued. In our moods, we feel anxious. We feel irritable. We feel less motivated. And then also in our behavior, stress stress can completely derail us because we're less likely to work out and we're more likely to eat more too if we're low energy and we're stressed out. The good news is your energy levels are not stagnant, and you can implement simple tactics to raise them up even when you have stress coming into your life. I love this saying from Brendon Burchard where the energy plant, it doesn't have energy, it creates energy. And so we're the exact same way. We have to create our own energy. And so it's not stagnant. We can start from level 0 or whatever, level 2020, honestly, and we can get that energy that we need to show up the best way that we possibly can. But before we go into kind of the specific tactics on raising our energy, I want you to take an assessment of where your current energy levels are. So on a scale of 1 to 5, so 1 being really low and 5 being really high, ask yourself these following prompts. So number 1, I have the mental stamina to be present and focused throughout the day. Rate yourself 1 through 5. Number 2, I have the physical energy I need to achieve my goals every day. Number 3, in general, I feel cheerful and optimistic. Number 4, my mind feels slow and foggy. 5, I am physically exhausted often. 6, I feel a lot of negative energy and emotions. All right, Obviously, there wasn't much trickery in there. The first 3 were very like, oh, I'm doing really well. And then the last 3 were kind of on the little lower end of the energy levels. Like, I wasn't trying to be really creative there. So if you scored really high, like 5 on the first 3 questions and really low on the last 3 questions, that means you're doing good. Like, your energy levels are high, they're good. However, if the inverse was true and you scored really low on the first 3 questions and really probably high on the last 3 questions, like, this information is for you, because you need to get your energy levels up. Or if you were kind of like in the middle of all the questions, this information is for you. And honestly, if you scored really high, like, I have high energy, Katie, this information is for you, because I don't believe that we have a finite amount of energy that we can have. Because again, if you own your energy levels, you own the day. If you own the day, you own the week. If you own the week, you own the month. If you own the month, you own the year. And so let's own the last month of 2020 so we can set ourselves up for owning 2021. So let's move on to the tactics. So I have 7 tactics for you that you can implement, and you can just test out, okay, what works for me, what doesn't work for me. Because we're just in the testing phase. What works specifically for me might not work for you, or might not work for your mother, or your grandmother, or your sister, whatever. So tactic number 1 is to start your day. I want you to reclaim your day by setting an intention, like a daily intention. So to have the energy that we want for the entire of the day, we have to be specifically and intentional with how we want to show up. Because again, if you own the day, you own the week. If you own the week, you own the month. If you own the month, you own the year. Like, I'm going to keep repeating that. But I'm talking about being like hyper intentional with how we want to show up. Because the number one way that like we let energy slow down is if we let ourselves get distracted with the day and get distracted with things that are gonna take away our energy or stress us out. So what I want you to do, if you don't already start this, is start your morning with setting your intention for how you wanna show up for the day. And ask yourselves these 3 prompts. So number 1 is, who do I wanna be today? And I want you to root these specifically in, what do I wanna see today? What do I want to hear today? And what do I want to feel today? So why am I rooting these into your senses? Because it's so much easier to root your senses, because then you actually have a feeling of no, this is what you have a better understanding and a more holistic understanding of how you want to show up. So what do you want to see today? What are the things that you want to see yourself doing? What do you want to see yourself accomplishing? At the end of the day, what if you could look back and you're like, that was a great day, like I was so productive. What are the things that you see yourself doing? How do you interact with people? How do you show up when there is a stressful situation? Like, what do you want to see yourself doing? What do you want to hear? How do you want to hear yourself talk to yourself? How do you want to see or hear yourself talk to other people? Like, what's the tone? If you are living a highly energized life, what's the tone that you're bringing to every social interaction that you have? Or every conversation that you have, inner dialogue with yourself too? What's that tone sound like to you? What do you want to feel like? Where are situations in your day that you want to feel something? Do you want to feel love? Do you want to feel energy? Do you want to feel optimism? Like, what are the events that are happening for that specific day? And what do you want to feel? The next question, what is going to throw me off? So we want to really understand, okay, what is going to like lessen my energy levels? What's going to get in the way? What's going to stress me out? We want to like visualize that and really be intentional with that, because that's going to help you answer the next question. All right, if that happens, if that throws me off, what am I going to do to get back right on? So really like be intentional and thinking about, because you know what's going to set you off, or you know what's going to burn you out, you know what's going to stress you out. So having like a mental plan in your head of, okay, this is how I'm going to react to it. Then when that thing happens, you already know what to do. You've already been intentional and set that intention for the day. No, when my kids freak out because they don't want to eat what I just made them, this is how I'm going to react. Because I wanted to feel, see, and hear myself act like this. Because that's how I know that this day was a good day and I was highly energetic throughout the day. And the answers to these questions should be energetic. You should be excited of how you're showing up for the day or how you plan to show up for the day. And the number one thing that is the most important is asking yourself, what's going to throw me off? And really be real with yourself too. Not like, I'm okay, I'm good. Like nothing's gonna throw me off, because that's not gonna happen. And that's not challenging yourself to kind of look at, okay, what realistically, Katie, is gonna throw you off? Because that's how you set yourself up for inevitable success, is really mentally rehearsing your day so that you show up the way that you want to show up. And this is going to take practice too. You know, we're so ingrained, our behavior is so ingrained in our habits, that when things do stress us out, or when like someone irritates us, we're just going to automatically react the way that we used to in the past. So this being intentional is just having a reflection of, is that the way that I want to react like I have in the past? And so just by practicing it, you get a little bit better. You get a little bit better, just 1% better every single day. Another tactic to set yourself up so that you have high energy throughout the entirety of the day is to set up strategic and implement strategic resets throughout the day. And so this is a really easy thing to do, but also not easy to do at the same time, because it's so simple. It's taking a break. And I know if you're just sitting there being like, Katie, like I'm not a toddler, I don't need to have little breaks. You need breaks. I was just listening to a great podcast by Brendan Burchard. He was talking specifically about this. And he was talking about, he equated it to race cars. Going around in a circle, go, like so zooming by so fast. But they went into a pit stop. They didn't need a pit stop. Like their car wasn't breaking down. They didn't need to, but they reset so that they could keep going at the speed that they wanted to win. And so that's what we need to start doing, is that we need to have strategic resets throughout the day, so that we get away. We're just like, okay, how do I get myself energized? Do I do some yoga stretches? Do I jump up and down? What do I need to reset my day? Like, what are simple, small tactics that I know give me energy? Like, for instance, mine is get away from the computer, stand up, do some stretches. I also, again, this is something that I learned from the podcast, is you do these cupping things on your arms and your body to kind of wake up your body, kind of add some pressure there. You can't see what I'm doing, but it sounds probably weird. And you just get back to it. Like so there's been so many studies on productivity that show that you can only be, like if you want to be as productive as possible throughout the day, you have to take breaks between 50 to 75 minutes of work. So what that means is you can go for 50 minutes of being in like high, just work mode. At between 50 to 75, like your limit is 75 minutes of work. And then you need to take a break. You need to do like 2 minutes of just take a break. And that doesn't mean take a break going on social media, because then you're firing up your brain to collect that information, and you're still responding to that information that your brain is taking in. You need to just take a step back, breathe, do some stretches, and then get back to it. So strategically implement. I would recommend, if you work from home, setting an alarm for every 50 minutes and get up, stretch, do something. Strategic resets throughout the day. All right, the third tactic for you to kind of really bring your energy level up throughout the day is understanding how to get yourself out of a stressed out situation. And that is with the power of breath. So when we are in a stressed out situation, we can consciously just trick our body to feel like we're relaxed. And then our brain goes, oh, I thought I was going crazy right now, but no, like I feel good. I feel consciously like I'm good. And so the tactic that we use is this relaxed breathing. And so have you ever seen, like everyone's watched someone sleep, right? Like you've seen your dad pass out on the couch just snoring. And so their breathing is slow and steady. And so what we can do is we can replicate that type of breathing by using the 5-5-7 technique. So what is that? So that is inhale, it's a count system. It's inhaling for 5 counts, holding for 5 counts, and then exhaling for 7. So let's do that together right now. So inhale, hold, release. Inhale, hold, exhale. Again. So just keep breathing. So you can do this about 10 times, which equates to about 2 minutes. So 2 minutes, if you can hack yourself out of stress, your energy levels are going to skyrocket for the entirety of the day. And so this is where I would recommend putting these into your strategic resets. So every 50 to 75 minutes throughout the day, take a reset and breathe, because you lessen your stress and then you heighten your level of feeling energized. The fourth tactic to raise your energy levels throughout the day is to prioritize high energy activities. I know that sounds simple, but there are, if I were to ask you, what activities take away your energy? So what activities kind of take away energy, or you do them and you're like, oh, I really don't want to do those. Or you might enjoy them, but then afterwards you feel really sluggish. Like watch TV for 7 hours straight. Like, what are those activities that take away your energy? Versus, what are those activities that do the inverse? That when you do them, you feel refreshed, you feel good, you feel just kind of highly energetic. Like, oh, I feel so good doing those. What are those? So make a list. So I would recommend making a list of like 10 activities on your high energetic activities list. List those off. After you figure it out, what are the high energy versus low energy, I want you to try to avoid the low energy activities as much as possible. The moment that I said that I want you to get rid of these activities, I know someone's like, well, I can't, Katie. So what I want you to do here then is, by noticing where are these activities coming up that are low energy, what I want you to do then is pair them with high energy activities. So there are activities like working from home, working where there's kids running around, like trying to go to school virtually. These activities are stress-induced activities, but they're unavoidable. So what can we do instead is notice, like we know when those come up, like we have a plan, so then pair those with high energy activities. So if you are a stay-at-home mom who's also kind of trying to teach their kids school, and that's a low energy activity, like afterwards you just like, I need a glass of wine. Instead of doing that, pair that with a high energy activity. Do you need to go read a book? Do you need to have some meditation? Do you need to go do yoga? Do you need to go take a hot shower, a hot bath? Like, what do you need to do that's going to give you energy? And so the point is just to understand and look ahead at our weeks and say, okay, is my week full of low energy activities? And if so, pair them, like double down on the high energy activities. And so just kind of like sandwich, honestly, those low activities with high energy activities that you can implement. So just being really intentional of what you need to consistently stay highly energetic. All right, number 6 on keeping your energy high throughout the day is, like we just said, about prioritizing high energy activities. Now I want you to prioritize high energy foods. And so I wanted to talk about this in December because I think a lot of the times and this used to be me in the past, we shame ourselves for kind of indulging in holiday treats. You know, we shame ourselves for like eating all the holiday cookies or the holiday pies, and we're like, shoot, now I have to go like exercise 10 times more to burn off the stuff that I just ate. I don't want you to focus in on that at all. At all. I want you to really have this mindset of, I want to make sure that I'm giving myself high energy foods versus low energy foods. And so what that means for every single person is completely different. It's what's high energy food for you in August is completely different than high energy food in December as well. Because it's not just all about health. Like it is to an extent. Like I want to make sure that you're eating really good foods, but I want to make sure that there's not anything in the back of your head that's shaming you about what you're eating. And so what I love about this concept of thinking of high energy foods versus low energy is just you are choosing things that you feel good about. So you for instance, over Thanksgiving, I chose to eat the pumpkin pie because I love pumpkin pie. And I didn't shame myself about that. And I felt okay having that, to the extent where I knew my body enough that I know I'm going to eat the pumpkin pie so I have high energy. I'm not going to eat to the extent that I feel really gross and groggy. And like everyone knows that feeling of like, oh, I just overate way too much sugar. So that's what I mean by eating high energy versus low energy foods. Is I want you to have enjoyment with food, but I want you to not kind of overeat or eat these really like not great foods that make you feel gross afterwards. It's a balancing act. And so for me, just having that mental capacity of I'm gonna eat so I have high energy throughout the day. And what does that look like? Like in September, that's completely different. I don't need to have all this, like I don't need to have pumpkin pie in September. But November and December, I want to. So it's allowing myself to be okay having that. But understanding the capacity of how much I can have so I can still show up highly energetic. And it's also understanding too, okay, if I want to have the turkey, the stuffing, the pies, the cookies, what do I need to have in place to make sure that I can have those foods and still show up highly energetic? So for me, that means having water, that means moving my body, that means getting enough sleep so that like I don't have all this stuff and just completely crash. So does that make sense for you? I don't want you to be going through the holidays shaming yourself over what you're eating. And so just focus. Like you can have the pie, you can have the ice cream, you can have the pizza, but just make sure that you feel highly energetic afterwards and you don't get into the state of just feeling gross. So I don't want you to end 2020 feeling gross at all. Another tactic, and you're gonna hear this and you're like, thank you, Katie, everyone's told me that, movement. To keep high energy up, you have to move your body, you have to be exercising. And so, but I don't want you to feel pressured to exercise all the time or feel like it has to be this strenuous exercise. There's been so many studies that show that moderate exercise, so just a couple times a week, have shown tremendous results and tremendous progress in your health and well-being. Because not only does exercise give you energy, it also helps with clarity throughout the day. Your memory increases. You're more highly productive. You're more efficient in the tasks that you have. You're more confident in your body as well. You feel more confident too. And then you're also more likely to give your body the foods that you know is good for it when you have exercise. So we've heard so much of the studies of why exercising is good for us. I want you to move your body in a way that you enjoy. Because again, we're talking about high energy. I want you to feel highly energetic to go and exercise for 30 minutes. And so that could look completely different for any type of a person. It could be running on the treadmill, or it could be yoga. It could be stretching, it could be Pilates, it could be high intense interval training, or it could just be like, I'm just gonna do some push-ups and move my body and do body weight strength. Like it doesn't have to, it's what's good for you and what you feel good doing. It could be a walk outside. One of my favorite things is I've been using the Peloton app. And so the Peloton app is a really great resource. And this isn't an ad. I wish I was at the ability where I could get ads. The Peloton app is great if you don't have anything, all you need is your body. Because you have yoga classes, there's HIIT classes that use your body weight, there's strength classes that use your body weight, there's stretching classes, there's Pilates classes. I haven't tried that one out just yet. There's so much resources out there to figure out what works best for your specific body type. And if you're being honest, you know that you have to exercise. And so challenge yourself. Again, when you have higher energy, you're more likely to take on challenges. So create high energy throughout the day by using the first 5 tactics, and then say, all right, challenge number 6, I'm gonna move my body every single day for at least 30 minutes. Because studies consistently have shown the great effects of having exercise throughout the day. And it doesn't have to be strenuous, again, just moderate exercise. You know the importance of exercise. You know, it's been hounded and ingrained in our minds for years, because that's all everybody talks about. It didn't click with me until I was in graduate school, and I was in a class about kinesiology and the importance of exercise and how that kind of influences our body. And the professor is up there and she's talking about kind of how exercise helps with stress. And I was like, okay, I've heard this time and time again. But then she's up there and she says, no, why our body, or why we're able to manage stress better because of exercise, is because we're training ourselves to be in a stressed out situation and then get out of that stressed out situation. So exercise puts us in a stressful state, but we're training ourselves to be able to kind of get that capacity of stress, and then we're done. And then we're like, okay, it's only fleeting. And so exercise, and then I should go back, and because I could be completely butchering it, but this is what stuck in my head and made me realize, no, I need to be prioritizing exercise so I can manage stress in my life. Because I'm training myself to kind of react to stress and be okay with stress. And understand that I can be in a really stressed out state where I feel like I'm physically gonna die. Like, anybody ever do Orange Theory when they're running on the treadmill and they're like, I'm gonna die? But then you're okay afterwards. And so I kept thinking about that, of as long as I keep working out, I'm gonna be okay, Katie. There's nothing that's gonna derail me. You can have an anxiety attack, which I've had, which are scary, but as long as I'm training myself, like that was just such a bigger motivator for me to work out, to be able to manage my stress and my anxiety, So that understanding, no, exercise is not just about looking good. It's for me to show up the best way that I possibly can, and for me to understand and train myself to kind of manage the anxiety and stress that I'm feeling right now. So that, I don't know if that will help with you on giving you a bigger why for working out, but that was a big one for me. And I apologize to anybody that is very scientific and they're like, that's not the study, Katie. But that clicked in my head, so if that helps anybody move their body for at least 30 minutes every single day, that's all I want for you. Finally, the last tactic. How could I have a whole video about high energy and having energy and not talk about sleep and the importance of sleep? So again, like we have strategic resets throughout the day, you need to be strategic about your sleep, because we need sleep to be highly energetic. Like, if you don't sleep and you wake up feeling groggy, you know what's gonna happen for the rest of the day. You're gonna be in that kind of like slow energy. I don't know why that's my low energy feeling. You're gonna and again, this is something that you've heard. I know you've heard it because I've heard it a million times, and I'm just like you, honestly. And so figuring out how to hack our sleep is one of the best things we can do for our energy. And so one of the best tactics that I have with my clients is implementing a power down hour. So as much as people have talked about the power of a morning routine, I want to talk to you about the power of a nightly routine, because we are children and we need to have a bedtime routine. No, you don't need to read yourself a book unless that's something that you like to do. But it's this having an hour before we go to bed and training our bodies to set ourselves up so that we are trained to go to bed at this specific time. And so what does a power down hour look like? It's anything, honestly, that helps you relax. So I would recommend for sure shutting off electronics and just not having that overstimulation happening with your brain. Or if you're like me, if you're like, well, I kind of like having TV at night, wear those cool blue screen glasses, so that blue screen that's coming in on you, it's not influencing your brain as much and keeping you up. You can also implement having tea, having kind of hot lemon water, reading a book, taking a shower, just taking a 1 hour time and figuring out, okay, what's gonna help, what are some activities that are gonna help me wind down, and it's a power down hour of just you setting up, okay, I wanna be in bed and asleep at this time mark, so what do I need to do? What's my routine gonna look like to help myself power down? All right, so those are the tactics that I have for implementing high energy throughout the day. So I really, the number one thing that you need to focus on, that I would recommend focusing on to win the remainder of 2020, is just asking yourself, how do I show up highly energized throughout the day? And so where do you start? Just look at these 7 tactics and say, which ones pop out for you? If a couple of them, try them out. See if they work. And if they don't, then try a couple of other ones. So I always talk to my clients, just be curious. Figure out what works for you and what doesn't work for you. Because again, what works for me is not gonna work for you. It's not gonna work for your sister, and it might not work for your mom. So it's just figuring things out. So there you have it, my 7 tactics to really increase your high energy throughout the day. So again, just focus on what is the one thing to win the rest of the year. And that's just implementing high energy throughout your day. So all right guys, go all in. I want you to be your best self. So set yourself up, because you can change the world, honestly, by being highly energetic, by being intentional with your day, and by trying to be the best person that you can be. You influence so much more than just yourself. You influence your kids, you influence your partner, you influence everybody that interacts with you. So why not be the best person that you can be? So go all in, get that high energy, and show up well for the rest of 2020.